Peppa Pig, Peppa and the Flying Vet. Peppa has brought Goldie the fish to the vet for a checkup. "You've got a healthy fish, Peppa," says Dr. Hamster. "Thank you," says Peppa. Suddenly, Dr. Hamster's telephone rings. It is Mr. Elephant. "Hello, Dr. Hamster," he says. "We found a sick lizard in the mountains." It's a gecko, not a lizard," adds Edmund Elephant. "I'll be right there," says Dr. Hamster. Dr. Hamster springs into action. "Can we come too?" asks Peppa. "Of course," replies the vet. "All aboard the aeroplane." "I didn't know you had an aeroplane, Dr. Hamster," says Mummy Pig. "Oh yes," replies Dr. Hamster proudly. "I'm the flying vet." Mr. Elephant spots the aeroplane in the sky. "Thank goodness," he exclaims. "The vet is here." When Dr. Hamster lands, she calls, "Where's the sick lizard?" "This poor lizard is upside down," says Dr. Hamster, flipping it over. "There, he's all better." Then Dr. Hamster's mobile phone rings. "This must be another emergency," she says, answering the call. "Hello, Grandpa Pig here," says Grandpa Pig. "It's Polly, she's sick." "I'll be right there," promises Dr. Hamster. So Peppa, George and Mummy Pig jump back into the aeroplane. "Look, Polly, it's the flying vet," cries Grandpa Pig when he sees the airplane. "We're going into the sea," cries Peppa. "This is a seaplane, Peppa," says Dr. Hamster. "We can land on the water." "Polly has been ill since we got on board," explains Grandpa Pig. "She must be seasick," says Dr. Hamster. And when Grandpa Pig puts Polly on dry land, she soon feels much better. Dr. Hamster's mobile phone rings again. It is Daddy Pig in his office. "There are some ducklings stuck on our roof," says Daddy Pig. "You're just in time," says Daddy Pig. "Mrs. Duck laid her eggs on our roof," says Mrs. Cat.
Meow.
"And they hatched," adds Mr. Rabbit. "But the ducklings don't know the way to the pond." "Who can make a quacking noise?" asks Dr. Hamster. "Quack, quack," says Peppa, and the ducklings follow her back to the pond. Dr. Hamster's phone rings for a fourth time. "Is it another emergency?" asks Peppa hopefully. "Yes, that was Mr. Hamster," says Dr. Hamster. "I'm late for tea. Must fly." "Thanks for your help," everyone cries, waving her off in her airplane. "No problem," Dr. Hamster calls. "It's all in a day's work for the flying vet." The end. Peppa and the Great Vacation. Peppa Pig and George are packing to go on vacation. "You can't bring everything," says Daddy Pig. "But we need all our toys," says Peppa. "Just your favourites," says Daddy Pig. Peppa brings Teddy. George brings his dinosaur. "Dinosaur!" "Arr!" says George. "Can Goldie come too?" asked Peppa. Sorry, Peppa, Goldie can't join us, but Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig will look after her. The car is packed and the family is on the road. When will we get there? Calls Peppa from the back seat. Daddy Pig tells Peppa that they have a long drive. I miss Goldie, says Peppa. Do you think she's all right? I think so, says Mummy Pig. Peppa calls Grandpa Pig just to make sure. At the vacation house, Mummy Pig unpacks her suitcase. She brought a lot of things. Daddy, you found the pool, calls Peppa. Yes, says Daddy Pig, I did. Mummy Pig goes shopping in town. Peppa and George want to have pizza for lunch. Mummy Pig has found some presents for Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig. That won't all fit in your suitcase, says Daddy Pig. I want to get something too, says Peppa. I hope it's small, says Daddy Pig. It is, says Peppa. It's a postcard and it doesn't have to go in a suitcase. It will go in the mail. The next day, Peppa and her family go on a nature walk. Daddy Pig has packed a big picnic lunch. There's nothing but trees, says Peppa. Look around, Peppa, says Mummy Pig. There is lots to see here. Peppa looks around. Tracks, she says. I see tracks. Dinosaur? Asked George. No, George, not dinosaur tracks, says Peppa. The tracks come to an end. Peppa gets Daddy Pig's binoculars and looks up. I see birds, a mother and babies in a nest. Peppa likes looking through the binoculars. Next she looks down. I see ants, she says. They're carrying leaves for lunch. Ant salad. Yuck, says George. Peppa is hungry. So are Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig and George. Time for a nice picnic lunch. Peppa can't wait to tell Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig what a nice day they had on the nature walk. That evening, Peppa calls Grandpa Pig. He promises to tell Goldie that Peppa misses her and that she will soon be home. We're taking good care of her, he says. The next day, Daddy Pig and Mummy Pig take Peppa and George to the beach. It's a sandy beach with lots of rocks. Peppa finds a shell. George finds a fossil. Daddy Pig finds a crab. There's a tide pool, says Peppa. Peppa and George look into the tiny pool. There are small plants. There's a gold coin, says Peppa. Ew, says George. Something is making bubbles. What could it be? A fish, says Peppa. Hello, fish. You would love my fish, Goldie. Vacation is nearly over. Time to pack the suitcases and get back in the car. It's a long drive home, but Peppa has Teddy to keep her company in the backseat. She has George too. It has been a great vacation, but she can't wait to see Goldie. Mummy Pig gives Granny Pig her present. Peppa runs to see Goldie. Oh, you've grown, she says. A lot. She seemed hungry, says Grandpa Pig. Mr. Zebra arrives. I have a postcard all the way from the beach, he says. Look, Goldie, says Peppa, you've got mail, something from our great vacation. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Sandpit. Peppa and her friends are playing in the sandpit. This sandpit is our desert island, decides Peppa. We will live here forever. If we are going to live here forever, I want it to be nice, says Susie Sheep. The desert island just needs some houses, says Peppa. And roads, barks Danny Dog. And shops, says Susie Sheep. Dinosaur, shout George and Richard. Yes, snorts Peppa. The desert island can have dinosaurs too. Emily Elephant looks at the desert island. She thinks that it needs trees.
Wow.
Where are we going to get trees from? asks Susie. Danny Dog has an idea. We have to drive big trucks around the world and look for trees. The dinosaurs guard the desert island while the others go to find some trees. Hello, Mummy Rabbit, says Danny. Have you got any spare trees? Mummy Rabbit picks up some sticks. There you go. Peppa and her friends drive their trucks back around the world.
Wow.
They plant the trees. There, says Peppa. We will live here forever. Candy Cat and Zoe Zebra come to see the desert island. It would be really good if it had a lake,
Meow.
says Candy. Danny digs a lake. Now it needs some water. The children pretend to fly around the world looking for water. Pedro Pony is playing on the roundabout. I know where there is pretend snow, he says. We can melt it to get pretend water.
Wow.
This is a pretend mountain, shouts Pedro. Pedro climbs to the top of the mountain, but there is no snow up there. It has melted in the sun. Can we pretend it hasn't melted? says Susie. No, neighs Pedro. It has melted good and proper. Candy spots Daddy Pig. He is drinking from the water fountain. Can we have some water in our bucket, please? asks Peppa. Oh, snorts Daddy Pig. Of course. The children fly back to the desert island. Peppa fills up the lake. We've got water, giggles Peppa. Freddy Fox arrives. The desert island is nearly ready. If only it had some flags, sighs Zoe. Mr. Fox takes a look in his van. He has got everything in his van.
Wow.
How about these? He grins. Now the desert island is perfect. It has trees, roads, shops, dinosaurs, flags, and a real lake. We can live here forever and ever, cheers Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig, the official annual 2022. Snowy Mountain.
Wow.
Peppa and her family have come to the mountains to go skiing. The ski lift is there to carry everyone to the top of Snowy Mountain. It looks a bit high, says Daddy Pig nervously. Daddy Pig does not like heights. They get into the ski lift chairs and the safety bars come down. Whoa! Shouts Daddy Pig as they are lifted up into the air.
This is really fun,
cries Peppa. Oh, yes, says Daddy Pig. Really fun.
In the air, in a chair,
sings Peppa again and again. The ski lift soon reaches the top of Snowy Mountain. Daddy Pig isn't sure how to get out of the chair. Oh! he shouts, falling out of the lift and into the snow. When Peppa, George and Mummy Pig reach the top of the mountain, they find Daddy Pig totally covered in snow.
Daddy is a walking, talking snowman,
says Peppa, giggling. says Daddy Pig, shaking off all the snow. Skis, skis, get your skis here, calls Miss Rabbit from her ski hut. Hello, says Mummy Pig. Skis for 2 grown-ups and 2 children, please. There you go, says Miss Rabbit, handing over the skis. Yippee, says Peppa. Madame Gazelle is Peppa and George's ski teacher.
Will we ski all the way down the mountain?
asks Peppa. Not today, Peppa, says Madame Gazelle. We'll stick to the baby slope. To start, push off slowly with your sticks. To stop, point your skis together. The children copy Madame Gazelle. When they reach the bottom, Madame Gazelle shows the children the gold cup she won for being a world champion at skiing. The children are very impressed.
Wow! Can we see you do some more skiing?
asks Peppa.
Please.
Very well, says Madame Gazelle. Madame Gazelle performs a ski routine with twists, turns, and a big jump. Oh, gasp the children. That was amazing, says Daddy Pig. Yes, well, I was the world champion, says Madame Gazelle. Now which Mummy or Daddy would like a go? Why not, says Mummy Pig. Hooray! Are you sure, Mummy Pig, says Daddy Pig. You haven't skied for years. It's like riding a bike, says Mummy Pig. You never forget. Which way does this go? All the way down the mountain, says Madame Gazelle. Mummy Pig sets off. Where are the brakes? She says to herself. Mummy Pig zooms down the mountain very quickly and onto the street below. Whoa, stand back, she shouts.
Wow, my mummy is skiing super fast,
says Peppa, watching from the top of the mountain.
And she did a loop-the-loop.
Wow. She can't stop, says Madame Gazelle. We have to catch up with her. Mummy Pig isn't sure how she is going to stop, but then she hits a big bank of snow. Everyone skis down to find her at the bottom of the mountain. Says Mummy Pig through the snow. My goodness, a walking, talking snowman, says Madame Gazelle.
No, it's just my mummy,
says Peppa. Mummy Pig shakes off all the snow. I have never seen such amazing skiing, says Madame Gazelle. This cup belongs to you. Madame Gazelle gives Mummy Pig her world champion skier's cap.
Hooray! My mummy is the best at skiing down the mountain,
says Peppa. Everyone laughs. The Tall Tree. Peppa and her family are visiting Madame Gazelle at her home.
Hello, everyone, says Madame Gazelle, opening her creaky door. Come in. Hello, Madame Gazelle, says Peppa.
As they step into the house, Peppa and George find themselves sliding down Madame Gazelle's hallway.
Whee! cries Peppa. Your hallway is a big slide.
Is it meant to be like that? asked Daddy Pig.
No, says Madame Gazelle. The house is just old.
In the living room, lots of things are leaning to one side.
Everything here is a little bit wonky,
Peppa gasped. Madame Gazelle, I think your house might need fixing, says Daddy Pig. He peers out the window and spots a tree pushing against the wall. Madame Gazelle takes him outside.
It's my little Christmas tree from a long time ago, she explains. I didn't want to throw it away, so I planted it in the garden.
Your little tree has grown so much it's pushing your house over, says Daddy Pig. I'll call Mr. Bull to see if he can help. That's a mighty fine tree you have there, Madame Gazelle, says Mr. Bull when he arrives. Strong roots. Yes, says Daddy Pig, but it's pushing the house over. Mr. Bull stands back to take a look. Oh yes, he says, let's chop it down. Before Mr. Bull chops the tree down, he must check that no animals are living in it. He gets a rope and a harness and uses them to climb the tree.
Wow!
Look at that, says Mr. Bull. Little birds are nesting in your tree, Madame Gazelle. Peppa, George and Madame Gazelle go and see the birds from the window. Mr. Bull climbs higher up the tree. Peppa, George and Madame Gazelle climb up higher in the house. Look what's here, says Mr. Bull.
Busy bees, cries Peppa.
Buzz. Let's see what else there is, says Mr. Bull. Mr. Bull climbs higher up the tree. Peppa, George and Madame Gazelle climb the stairs to the third floor window. I say, look at this, whispers Mr. Bull.
It's an owl,
Peppa gasped. Whoo, says the owl. Onward and upward, says Mr. Bull, continuing to climb. Peppa, George and Madame Gazelle reach the highest window in the house. Bats, says Mr. Bull, spotting some hanging upside down and fast asleep.
Wow! Ah, my friends the bats, says Madame Gazelle. They remind me of the old country.
Mr. Bull reaches up. But what's this? He asks, pulling down a piece of tinsel with a bauble on the end.
Ah, my Christmas decorations, says Madame Gazelle.
Hooray! Mr. Bull pulls himself right to the very top of the tall tree and finds a Christmas fairy, he cries. Everyone agrees that, since Madame Gazelle's tree is a wonderful home to so many little animals, it should not be chopped down. Maybe to stop your house falling over, we could put it in the tree, says Daddy Pig. Mr. Bull uses his crane to lift up Madame Gazelle's house and puts it in the middle of the tree.
Wow!
I've always wanted a tree house, says Madame Gazelle.
Thank you, everyone.
All the animals love living in the tall tree. Madame Gazelle loves living in the tall tree. Wendy Wolf's birthday. Today is Wendy Wolf's birthday, and she has invited all her friends to her party.
Hooray! Happy birthday, Wendy, her friends cheer. Thank you, everybody, says Wendy. Mr. Wolf is blowing up the balloons for the party. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow these balloons up. He blows up lots and lots of balloons and bounces them over for the children to play with. I love balloons, cries Peppa, bouncing a red one up into the air. Me too, says Wendy. And me, everyone agrees. Let's try and keep them in the air, says Freddy Fox. When the children have finished with the balloons, Mrs. Wolf asks, Who wants to play with the bubbles? Me, everyone cheers. Hooray! Okay, says Mrs. Wolf. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow some bubbles. Lots of bubbles float around and the children try to pop them. Oh, sighs Peppa, we've popped all the bubbles. We can always make more, says Mrs. Wolf. Who wants a go? Me, cry the children. Mrs. Wolf hands everyone bubble mixture and tells them to huff, puff and blow.
Wow!
The bubbles float all the way up into the sky. Look at that big bubble, says Pedro Pony, pointing. All the children look up.
Oh!
That's not a bubble, Pedro, that's the full moon, says Wendy. When we will see one, we howl. Ow! Can you teach us to do that, Wendy? asks Peppa. Okay, replies Wendy. First you look up at the moon.
Oh!
Then you ow! Wendy's friends look at the moon. Ow! They howl. When they finish, they hear another howl. Oh! Who was that? gasped Peppa.
Ow!
The children hear the howl again and huddle together until Wendy's Granny Wolf, pops up from the bushes.
Hooray!
Oh, hello, Granny, says Wendy. Happy birthday, Wendy, cries Granny Wolf. And hello, Wendy's friends.
Ow!
Hello, Granny Wolf, say Wendy's friends quietly. My, what big ears you've got, Granny Wolf, says Peppa. All the better to hear you with, replies Granny Wolf.
Oh!
What big eyes you've got, Granny Wolf, says Zoe Zebra. All the better to see you with, replies Granny Wolf.
Oh!
And what big teeth you've got, Granny Wolf, says Pedro. All the better to eat. Birthday cake, replies Granny Wolf, laughing. Hooray! Cheer all the children, looking at the lovely birthday cake Granny Wolf has brought for Wendy. Wendy, says Peppa, what's that on the top of your cake?
Oh!
It's a little house made of sticks, says Wendy.
Wow!
Mrs. Wolf tells Wendy it's time to blow out the candles. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow the candles out. Wendy blows the candles out and blows the stick house down too. My girl, says Mrs. Wolf, and she turns to Daddy Pig. What's your house made of, Mr. Pig? Bricks, replies Daddy Pig. Oh, of course, she says. That was my best party ever, thank you, cheers Wendy Wolf. Ow! 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 Everyone howls, Happy birthday! The end.
Peppa Pig Strawberries. Grandpa Pig is showing Peppa and George the strawberry he has grown. Why is it hiding in a little house, Grandpa? asked Peppa. Because the cheeky birds have eaten the rest of my strawberries, and I need to protect this last one, says Grandpa Pig. Grandpa Pig tells Peppa that they can still eat strawberries. He knows the perfect place to go. Everybody in the car, he says. It's time to visit the strawberry farm. Have you come to pick strawberries? asked Miss Rabbit when they arrive. Yes, please, Miss Rabbit, says Peppa excitedly. Then you've come to the right place. We've got nothing but strawberries, says Miss Rabbit. Pick as many as you like. Miss Rabbit takes Peppa, George, Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig out to the strawberry fields and gives them each a basket to put their strawberries in. Wow, gasped Peppa. There are so many strawberries. Pedro Pony and his family are at the strawberry farm too. Hello, Pedro, cries Peppa. Have you picked a lot of strawberries? Yes, replies Pedro. But my mummy and daddy keep eating them. Mr. and Mrs. Pony sigh. They have eaten too many strawberries. Peppa and George giggle. They love skipping along, picking strawberries and putting them in their baskets. I must say, these strawberries do look lovely, says Granny Pig. The real test is to see if the strawberries taste any good, says Grandpa Pig, picking up a big juicy strawberry and biting into it. Actually, that is rather good. Granny Pig eats a strawberry too. Scrumptious. Granny and Grandpa Pig eat lots of strawberries. Peppa and George are very good at picking strawberries and have nearly filled up their baskets. Peppa sings a song as they pick up the strawberries. Strawberry, strawberry, juicy, red and sweet. Strawberry, strawberry, they're so nice to eat. Peppa and George's baskets are full of strawberries, but Granny and Grandpa Pig's baskets are empty. Granny, Grandpa, where are your strawberries? asked Peppa. In our tummies, replies Grandpa Pig. Maybe it's time to go home, says Granny Pig, rubbing her tummy. Danny Dog and his family has just arrived at the farm, ready to pick some strawberries. Wow, look at all these lovely strawberries, says Captain Dog. Don't say that word, groans Grandpa Pig, holding his tummy. Granny and Grandpa Pig have eaten too many strawberries. Thank you for all the strawberries, Miss Rabbit, says Peppa. Now we can go home and make strawberry jam for everyone. Say Granny and Grandpa Pig. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow, Peppa. Peppa and George love strawberries. Everyone loves strawberries. Recorders. Peppa and her friends are at playgroup. Morning, children, says Madame Gazelle. Today we are going to play the recorder. Ooh, gasp the children, listening as Madame Gazelle plays a tune. Madame Gazelle hands a recorder to each of the children. Now, does anyone know how to play music on the recorder? She asks. You blow it like this, cries Peppa. That is not music, Peppa, says Madame Gazelle. That is a horrible noise. To make music, we must play in a way that sounds not horrible, suggests Danny Dog. Yes, Danny, says Madame Gazelle. Madame Gazelle tries to teach the children how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on the recorder. Cover these little holes with your fingertips and blow, she says. The children play on the recorders. It's time for the children's parents to pick them up from playgroup. Remember, the most important thing when learning to play a musical instrument, says Madame Gazelle, is lots and lots of practice. Goodbye, Madame Gazelle, everyone calls. Sounds like someone is learning to play the recorder, says Daddy Pig. It's me, cries Peppa. Madame Gazelle said I have to practice lots. Oh, says Mummy Pig. Daddy Pig will help you while I do some work in another room. Susie Sheep is practicing the recorder at her house too. La la la, sings Mummy Sheep. Yes, that's it, Susie. Keep going. Danny is also practicing. Very good, Danny, says Captain Dog. How about we go out on my boat now? No, replies Danny. I have to keep trying until I get it right. Of course, says Captain Dog. Peppa and her friends have been practicing their recorders all week, and now it's time to do a concert for the parents. Welcome to our concert, parents, says Madame Gazelle. Ready, children? The children play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star together on their recorders. It is a very noisy concert. At the end of the concert, the parents give the children a big round of applause. Haven't the children worked hard? Says Madame Gazelle. Yes, replies Daddy Pig, and now it's over. It's strange to think it was only for a week of our lives. I want you to learn this next tune, says Madame Gazelle. She plays Mary Had a Little Lamb on her recorder. The children try to copy her. Remember, go home and practice, 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 says Madame Gazelle. Peppa loves the recorder. Everyone loves the recorder. Peppa Pig Scooters. Peppa and George are playing on their scooters. Whee! Cries Peppa. George is still learning how to ride his scooter. Don't worry, George, says Peppa. I'll teach you. Peppa tells George to hold on to the handlebars with both hands and then stand on the scooter. George tries, but he wobbles and falls over. No, George, says Peppa. Stand on the scooter with one foot. Soon George is zooming along on his scooter with Peppa. Whee! George, you're doing it! Cries Peppa happily. That's enough scootering for now, says Daddy Pig. It's time to go to playgroup. Peppa sighs. But we've only just started. Can we ride our scooters to playgroup, please, Daddy? Good idea, Peppa. It will be a lovely spot of exercise, says Daddy Pig. Hooray! Cheers Peppa. Ready, steady, go! Wait for me, says Daddy Pig, chasing after Peppa and George on their scooters. Peppa and George ride their scooters up and down the hills all the way to playgroup. Whee! They call. Not so fast! Daddy Pig is out of breath. Peppa and George get to playgroup very quickly. Madame Gazelle is waiting for them. Bye-bye, Daddy! Cry Peppa and George when Daddy Pig finally arrives. Bye, says Daddy Pig, still panting. Oh no, now I have to walk home, says Daddy Pig. Wait, no I don't, I've got wheels. Daddy Pig hops on Peppa's scooter. Whee! Scootering is so much fun, he cheers. Peppa and George are painting pictures at playgroup. Madame Gazelle, says Peppa, we came to playgroup on our scooters today. Very good, Peppa and George, replies Madame Gazelle. Let's all paint pictures of how we travelled to playgroup today. Later on, Daddy Pig says, I don't think we should drive to pick up Peppa and George. Mammy Pig frowns. But it's a long walk to playgroup. We don't have to walk. We can scoot, says Daddy Pig. Race you! Oh, okay, says Mummy Pig, hopping on George's scooter. Whee! Mummy, Daddy, you brought our scooters! Cries Peppa. Peppa and George hop on their scooters. Whee! Ah, yes, says Daddy Pig. That seems to leave Mummy Pig and me without scooters for the journey home. Daddy Pig, gasped Mummy Pig, you said we wouldn't have to walk. We won't have to walk, says Daddy Pig, but we will have to run. Race you! Daddy Pig runs after Peppa and George as they zoom along on their scooters. Hey, wait for me, cries Mummy Pig. Peppa and George love scootering. Everyone loves scootering. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Castle Adventure. Peppa and George are going to visit a castle today. Maybe we'll see a dragon, says Daddy Pig. Arr, says George. George likes dragons. Only a pretend dragon, says Peppa. Dragons are not really real. Daddy Pig parks a car in the car park. Welcome to the castle tour, says Miss Rabbit. Cars are parked at the owner's risk. What does that mean? Asks Peppa. Nothing, snorts Daddy Pig. They always say that in car parks. Mr. Rabbit comes out of the castle. He is dressed in armour like a knight. "The castle tour starts here," he says. "Let's fire the cannon." A cannonball shoots out of the cannon. It flies all the way down to the car park. "Boom! Boom!" giggles George. "This is where the king and queen would sit," says Mr. Rabbit. "It's the throne room." "George can be king and I can be queen," decides Peppa. "May I carry on with the tour, your majesties?" asks Mr. Rabbit. "Yes," giggles Peppa, "you may." Mr. Rabbit opens the door to a secret passageway. It leads to the dining hall. "Look at all the food," gasped Daddy Pig. "It's a real banquet," says Mummy Pig. Peppa picks up a bread roll. "Ugh! The food is made of plastic." "Don't worry," says Miss Rabbit. "Your real banquet is coming." Miss Rabbit brings in 4 little boxes. "Here we are," she cries. "Ye olde cheese sandwich with Jester's pickle." "It's a banquet in a box," cheers Peppa. "And now," says Mr. Rabbit, "it's time to meet the dragon." Peppa and George climb to the top of the castle. A huge dragon stomps towards them, with Miss Rabbit waving from the top. The dragon is a robot. The robot dragon marches all the way up to the castle. "It's nearly crushed our car," splutters Daddy Pig. "Cars are parked at the owner's risk," Miss Rabbit reminds him. Cheers George. He loves castles. Everyone loves castles. The end. Peppa Pig, Grandpa Pig to the rescue. Grandpa Pig is taking Peppa and George for a ride on his little train, Gertrude. "Gertrude has rubber wheels so we don't have to go on train tracks," says Grandpa Pig.
Wow.
"I love Gertrude," says Peppa. Miss Rabbit is in her big train, taking the grown-ups to work. "Morning, Grandpa Pig," calls Miss Rabbit. "Out on your toy train again." "Gertrude is not a toy. She is a miniature locomotive," says Grandpa Pig. The big train is going very fast. It can go much faster than Gertrude. Oh no, the big train has broken down. Gertrude catches up with Miss Rabbit's big train. "You need to get yourself a train that doesn't break down like Gertrude," says Grandpa Pig. "That's a good idea," says Miss Rabbit. "I'm borrowing your little train." "All change," calls Mr. Rabbit. All the passengers climb into Gertrude and Grandpa Pig is left behind. Oh no! Mrs. Cow is waiting for the train at the next station. "Has the train sunk?" asks Mrs. Cow. "No, this is a toy train," says Miss Rabbit. "Gertrude is not a toy train. She is a miniature locomotive," says Peppa. There's a traffic jam on the road, so Miss Rabbit takes a shortcut.
Bonk,
bonk. "Hello, ducks," calls Peppa as they ride past the duck pond.
Gertrude might not be very fast, but at least she can ride on the grass. Gertrude crawls up the very steep hill.
Wow!
You can make it, cheer the passengers. Gertrude reaches the top of the hill very slowly. By the time she reaches the last station, it will be time for everyone to go home again. Back down the line, Grandpa Pig is trying to mend the big train. Grandpa Pig loves mending things. So many interesting bits and bobs, says Grandpa Pig, but can he put them back together again? Finally, Gertrude reaches the station, and so does Grandpa Pig with the big train. You've mended it, says Peppa. All change, calls Mr. Rabbit. Everyone gets in the big train ready to go home. Off we go, says Miss Rabbit. Stop, cries Peppa. What about Gertrude? We can't leave her behind. Don't worry, we can take the toy train as well, says Miss Rabbit. She uses a crane to hoist Gertrude into the big train.
Wow!
Gertrude is not a toy, says Grandpa Pig. We know, says Miss Rabbit. She is a miniature locomotive. Miss Rabbit drives all the passengers and Gertrude home. Everyone agrees that Gertrude is the best miniature locomotive in the whole world. Gertrude is the best train in the whole world, says Peppa. The end. Peppa Pig. Peppa and George love Easter. It is Easter morning. Time to dye the eggs, yells Peppa. She and George sit down at the kitchen table with Mummy and Daddy Pig. They take turns dipping the eggs into bright colours. Peppa dyes her eggs the colours of the rainbow.
Wow!
George adds spots to make his look like dinosaur eggs. Rawr! He growls. The doorbell rings. That must be Granny and Grandpa Pig, says Daddy Pig. Peppa and George run to the front door to give their grandparents hugs. We're here for the egg hunt, Granny Pig explains. Hooray! Cheers Peppa. The egg hunt is her favourite part of Easter. Mummy Pig carries the basket of eggs outside. We will hide the eggs all over the garden, she says. Peppa and George cover their eyes while the eggs are hidden. It is hard not to peek, so Granny and Grandpa Pig offer to help. Peppa giggles and squirms with excitement. Ready, set, go, Daddy Pig shouts. Peppa is off in an instant. She quickly notices something unusual in the clover patch.
Wow!
It's a big green egg. George is looking around too, but instead of an egg, he finds a dragonfly buzzing along in a zigzag pattern. Peppa skips to the garden. She finds a lovely pink egg hidden among the tulips. I found another one, Mummy, she squeals. George races after Peppa. He spots a butterfly in the garden and watches it flutter along. The butterfly lands on a purple egg near Peppa's feet.
Wow!
She puts the egg in her basket. Peppa checks inside each flower pot. In the last one, she finds a bright orange egg. George keeps searching. He turns over a watering can, but all he can find inside is water. Peppa is still on the hunt. She looks behind a big pile of rocks and finds a smooth red egg. George picks up something too, but it is not an egg. It is a friendly inchworm going about its day. Peppa and George look by their toys next. Peppa sees something shiny in her container of chalk. It is a bright blue egg. George has still not found any eggs. Peppa wants to help. "Try the basket, George," Peppa suggests, pointing to her bicycle. George looks in the bicycle basket, but it's empty. George frowns. The hunt is almost over, and he has not had any luck. Peppa has an idea. She asks Daddy Pig to lift George so he can see the whole garden. George sees a lot of eggs in the tree, but they are not the kind he's looking for. Daddy Pig gently places George back down on the ground. George has found an egg. Hooray! He claps his hands. Everyone laughs, including George. Peppa knows something else that will make George laugh. She brings him over to the watering can, where the ground is now slippery and wet. Hooray! It is the perfect muddy puddle. Peppa and George have fun as they splish and splash. Happy Easter. The end. Peppa Pig and the Day at the Museum. At breakfast, Mummy and Daddy Pig have a surprise. "We have a special day planned," says Mummy Pig. "We're going to a museum." "What is a museum?" asked Peppa. "It's a place full of interesting things. Sometimes those things are very old," says Daddy. "Older than you?" asked Peppa. "Yes," says Daddy. "Even older than me." "Here we are," says Mummy Pig. "The museum is very big," says Peppa. "Ew," says George. Mummy and Daddy Pig buy tickets from Miss Rabbit. "What would you like to see first?" asks Miss Rabbit. "Jewels!" cries Peppa. "Dinosaur!" says George. First stop is the King's and Queen's room.
Wow!
It is full of things from long ago. Peppa likes the beautiful robes. And look, there's a crown. There's a throne too. Peppa wishes she could sit on it. She imagines what it would be like to be the queen, to wear the crown and sit on the royal throne. "If I were the queen," she says, "I would eat cake every day." The family bows to Her Royal Highness, Queen Peppa. George does not want to wear a crown and sit on the throne. He wants to see dinosaurs. George stands at the doorway to the dinosaur room. There are many unusual creatures here. Everything is so big, says Peppa in a very big voice. Ugh, says George in a very small voice. George sees a big dinosaur. Don't worry, says Daddy. Those are just dinosaur bones. They may be bones, but they are very big. George can just imagine what it would be like to be a dinosaur. He would be bigger than Peppa. He could chase her. George sees something smaller and not very scary. It's a robot dinosaur. Everyone is hungry, so they go to the museum cafe for a cake. After the snack, it's time to see the next exhibit. There's a special one at the museum today, says Mummy Pig. It's all about space. George's friend Edmund is at the museum too. Edmund knows a lot about space. He and George wear space helmets to tour the exhibit. Miss Rabbit gives him their tickets. Hooray! First, everyone gets on board the space ride.
Wow!
Blast off, says Mr. Rabbit. He is a tour guide. Wow. This is just pretend, isn't it? Asks Peppa. Yes, says Mr. Rabbit. It's just pretend. The rocket takes him to the pretend moon. There are pretend planets too. Wow. Do you know what the planets are made of? Asked Mr. Rabbit. Cardboard, says Peppa. Well, these models are made out of cardboard, but the real planets are made out of other things. Rock and ice and gas, says Edmund. What about cheese? I thought the moon was made out of cheese. That's just silly, Daddy, says Peppa. If this was the real moon, you could jump over my head, says Mr. Rabbit. Do you know why? There's less gravity, yells Edmund. You are right. We can make you feel like you are on the moon with these special big rubber bands. Everybody straps into the rubber bands. They jump. Boing, boing, boing. Just like on the moon. Miss Rabbit takes her picture. At the gift shop, Peppa gets a picture of everyone jumping on the pretend moon. Hooray! Daddy is hungry again, so he gets a piece of moon cheese. Then it's time to go home. It has been a great day at the museum. Hooray! Later, Mummy Pig asked Peppa and George, what was your favourite thing at the museum? Peppa liked everything at the museum, but she does have a favourite. The crown, says Peppa. George liked the space ride, but that wasn't his favourite. Dinosaur, says George. I have two favourites, says Daddy Pig. The cake and the cheese. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.